Here it goes.
Awesome.
Ta-ta-da-ta-ta-ta.
Okay.
Noah and I haven't met, so this is exciting.
This is kind of our
I
first
get to know.
conversation, filmed on camera.
Although I did get to watch him on stage. I did get to observe Noah. And
I first got bit with the theater acting bug when I was in 6th grade. I just auditioned randomly for my school play, which was Peter Pan Jr. Didn't expect to get any role from it, never had done any acting before, but I was cast as Wendy's little brother, John, and that was kind of the first moment where I was like, whoa, okay, this is pretty cool. I really fell in love with the process, and as a little kid, I guess that's kind of a strange answer because it's still like a love that I have to this day with acting. The practice of going to rehearsals, finding breakthroughs, meeting people, becoming friends, finding chemistry, discovering things. I mean, these are all things that I really enjoyed as a young kid, and it just gave me a feeling that I wasn't able to replicate in any other part of my life.
I guess I want to start with the fact that I was discouraged from applying for the Rhodes. Not just because I was a woman, but because of my politics and my unathleticness. When I went to Queen's, which was a very conservative university, and when I asked for the application, I don't know if they still do it like that, but you had to go to the university administration to get the application, and they kind of looked at my record and said, oh, were you head of the student union? No, I wasn't, but I organized student support for a workers' strike. That's not very good. And then, well, did you do anything else? Yeah, I worked with the Women's Center. Oh, you're a women's libber. Yes, I am. So these were, again, like, oh, they're not going to like that, was the university's response. And then they said, well, you have to be an athlete. And I said, so I put on my CV that I did non-competitive swimming if I did it once a year. And I did Latin folk dancing, which is pretty strenuous. But, and I even asked, when I did get the scholarship, I asked them, like, how come you didn't care about my lack of sports? And they said, well, it's not whether you play football, but whether you're captain of the team, whether you're a leader. And I did have my own theater ensemble. I had a company that, from my teens, that I toured with within the Latvian community.
Well, I was hoping to do my master's for free. That was the main thing. I knew that I wanted to do more school, and I had worked really hard in high school to sort of bolster my candidacy so that I could actually go to maybe the States to study drama. That was my goal, because I couldn't pay for it. But then I kind of gave up on acting, but I still had all this, these great marks and this great resume to show for it. And I came into university as someone who was really aimless. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I had a lot of ability. And I've been very fortunate to have found my footing and found my way in my undergrad. And then approaching the end of my undergrad career, I was kind of asking myself the same questions of, okay, what's next for me? What could I do with my resume right now? And the Rhodes was kind of more of a happenstance thing. Like, my undergrad college, Victoria, had reached out to me and said, hey, we've identified you as a potential nominee. You might want to think about applying to this. So I thought, what are the chances of me actually getting it? Let me just throw my name out there. Who knows if they will choose like a actor, studies drama, and then, got the interview, and I said, oh, okay, wow, okay, what a great opportunity. And then I did the interview, and one thing led to another, and now I get to do this really, really cool and privileged thing, go to Oxford and study and complete my master's there, and hopefully do a lot of theater. So, I'm very, very excited, and looking forward to it.
Our interviews happened at, I think it was called the University Club on Avenue Road, in a building that was proud of the fact that women were not allowed to set foot there. I'm sure in the 30s, Jews weren't allowed to set foot there either. And they made a big deal about, oh, just for you, just because it's Rhodes, we're going to do this odd thing of you entering as women with your women's bodies into this space. And then I even remember the head of the Rhodes Trust Canada at the time bragging to me, like a man in his 50s, bragging to me that he didn't know how to open a can, that Susie, his wife, who was standing next to him, was the only person who could keep him from starving. And that was to be implicitly my role as well for some great men in the future. They did this thing where they did receptions before the day of your interviews. And when I walked in, I looked around the room and I said, okay, I am so unlike these people that either I have zero chance of getting it, and I'm just kind of entertainment for them, or I have a really good chance of getting in because I'm so different. And then I did things that the other kids weren't doing, like everybody was trying to talk up the committee members, and I would argue with them. And the other thing, and I did this instinctively, but now I know it's a really smart thing to have done, is all the wives came. And there was one woman, Sylvia Ostry, she was a very high civil servant, a Mandarin, like in the OECD. She was there as well, but the women, nobody was talking to the women. They were standing around on their own, and I talked to every single one of them.
Yeah.
And when I got the award, all those men on the committee said, oh, by the way, my wife really liked you.
Yeah, I think on the education side of things, it's kind of this interesting, complex relationship because, I noticed that as I continue to get more educated in life, I get into less and less diverse spaces. I mean, my high school was extremely diverse. Coming to university was a bit of a culture shock. I mean, I even reflect on myself and how I used to be 4 years ago. I mean, I dress differently. I listen to different music now. I have my friends look different. I mean, and I think that that's not going to change in the future. I mean, I'm on my way to Oxford, and I think that this trend sort of will continue. And I think the way that I've been able to reckon with it in my undergrad has kind of been to really crack down on staying true to myself and the things that I grew up with and the hallmarks of my culture that I really appreciate a lot. When it comes to the arts, anytime I get to create my own art, I always try to inject a sense of myself in it and sort of remind people of my own positionality. Because I think it's difficult sometimes I'm speaking abstractly, but like remind myself that I am a black man, you know what I mean? In the sense that, I grapple with sort of identity issues sometimes, or, where I am in my education or in my art making, even the way I speak or talk. I mean, when I go back to, my family's from Trinidad and Tobago. When I go back home, my grandma, she wasn't able to even understand the things I was saying just because of my Canadian accent. Things like that, small things here and there, they add up and they stay with you, and they have stayed with me.
To put it really briefly is, there is no one single glass ceiling. There are many. You'll break through one, and there's another one waiting for you, and you'll break through that one, and then there's another one. And you might keep going, or you might just say, okay. So that's what I would say. I don't think that the struggle to be a woman or a person of color in the theater, I don't think that's ended at all. I think it's just gotten a little easier, a little better, but there's a lot to do still.
I would say that the performance is everything, the be-all and end-all of everything, the culmination of your entire work. One piece of advice that I received, I've received this from a few professors. Ken Gass, who taught me for many years in the CDTPS, told me that, there's no such thing as good and bad when it comes to your art. Things are just complete and less than complete, that's it. And a professor of mine in 400, Andrew Kushner, this year told my entire cohort that everything you do is a practice. Your rehearsal is a practice. When you perform in front of people, yes, you're giving them an experience, but it's a practice with people watching you. And that really takes the pressure off of artists. And the sooner I think artists understand that, the better off they'll be. And I think when it comes to the audience members, I think people are really sort of, they think that the final product is what they see on stage, and they're really keen to give you their opinions on whether it was good or bad, what they liked and what they didn't like. To me, it doesn't matter so much. What really matters is, how did I feel about it? Did I make discoveries? Did I try something new? Did I have fun? Those are the biggest things. So I think people maybe don't think about it from that perspective, but it's also, you give the audience an experience. It's very common for them, to give their opinion on things, but it's not the end of the world.
The most common thing people will say if you're in the theater is they say, oh, you people are so dramatic. right? You're so dramatic. And they imagine that we, as in our regular lives, are somehow more emotional than they are. And the truth is, I think people in the theater are incredibly self-disciplined. You can't possibly be an artist without putting in many, many hours doing something that might be futile over and over again. You need to be able to control your physicality. You need to be able to, you need to do it every night. Even when you have a headache, even when your husband just died, even when your child is sick, you're going to go out on that. You're going to do this show, and that requires a certain rigor that is really deep in anyone who has made theater over a significant course of time. And in terms of the dramatic thing, I have once in my life had a real job for 1 year. I was in a job where every day I went to an office, and I was there from like 9 to 6 or whatever. And those people behaved way more dramatically. There were massive fights about formatting, people slamming doors, stop talking to each other about margin sizes, stuff like that. And I thought, oh, you are like this because you don't get to be on a stage and you don't get to scream. Yeah. Exactly. You don't get to be. You haven't had the luxury, the opportunity to actually work out some of your demons in a safe space. You explode for minor things because you can't stand on a stage and sing a high C, stuff like that. And that goes back to why the arts should be in all of our lives, because even if you play the piano, even if you're just really good at sewing, whatever it is that you do creatively will be an outlet for the emotional imagination, the world of your imagination that needs to be nourished no matter what.
People need creative outlets.
That's really what's always interested me most about drama and art, is art as a force of social change, and what can art do that? How much can it do? And so it's such a big topic. So I've done it. What I think the answer to that, can it? The answer is to a certain degree. So it certainly is great as a cheerleader. It's great as a way to rally people. I can think of many historical examples when art has done that, and theater and specifically has also done that. But can it change people's minds? No, only if they're ready to. It can nudge them. I don't think you can go to a show and then say, oh, no, I'm not going to vote for Trump. I think if you're leaning towards not voting for Trump, maybe a show can, the arsonists, or maybe it can budge you into a different mode. But I also think that how we make theater reflects certain power structures, reflects certain ways of thinking, so it's why so much of my work has been, for lack of a better word, experimental, because I want to get the audience to get used to the fact that things can be different, and that our brains, our habits can change, and that we're supple human beings, and so I've explored how to influence people that way. If you look through my resume, you can see that I've made shows with feminist issues, I've made shows about date rape, I've made shows about refugees, I've made a lot of shows about war, and I've seen how that can impact an audience or not impact an audience. But it's not just, like I say, I don't think it's just the content. And I think one thing that we maybe, that doesn't get written about, but that I think that artists are very aware of. One of the things that we love about making theater is the process. It's not necessarily the moment of standing in front of the audience. It's what we're doing in the room. And that too is kind of a community building, a transformative thing where you learn to trust each other implicitly. You don't necessarily like each other, but you can still make something together. Those are deep human lessons that we're teaching that also move towards social change.
I'll take a crack at answering that as well, if that's okay. I think for me, art and grappling with issues go together intrinsically, in the sense that, I think the CDTPS does a brilliant job, and the fact that I'm such a staunch advocate for this BA degree is the fact that we have this sort of mix between practical skills and also theoretical knowledge. To learn about Brecht and Artaud and Grotowski, to learn about sort of theater that leaves you with a call to action, I think is really, really important, and a good baseline to sort of usher in this new generation of artists in Ontario who, have these ideas in mind. And I think for me, I'm in a sketch comedy troupe with Victoria College, the Bob Review, and we get to write our own sketches and perform them, which is such a brilliant opportunity to stage your own work. It's so rare, I feel like, to do that, but we get to. And for me, like, my friends always know which sketches are written by me because they always have to do with race. And the reason why I focus on that always is because not only is there just so much comedy to be mined out of a topic like that as a Black man with a predominantly white cast, like, there's just so much opportunity, but also I want to leave audiences thinking about things that I'm thinking about. And like Baņuta said, I think that you are, can't be expected to push people to one side or the other, but it can leave you asking questions. And I think that if you do a good enough job in telling your story, you can leave a performance thinking, okay, maybe I should think about that again, or maybe I shouldn't use that word, or maybe I shouldn't, laugh at this stuff. That's always my goal. And you do it through kind of an unassuming comedic lens. It's a bit more, I think when people watch art that's a bit more on the nose, maybe it doesn't land as well, but I think when you kind of have this front, and then you inject it with some of the real issues that you want to grapple with, it can be a real powerful force. And we see that throughout history. Art has been such a powerful force. Arts are undervalued. We know that from an economic standpoint. It's the first thing to be cut in an education board when funding is low. And I think that all of these things are just kind of microcosms of a larger stigmatization around the arts. And at the university level, when it comes to what you study, I think for me, the main thing was I didn't want to embarrass myself talking to people, especially in a program in my other program is competitive, and employability is a big thing, and status does matter. So saying that I studied drama, would incur laughs a lot of the time. So I just wouldn't mention it. And then in my third year, I started to only mention it. I started to only tell people that I studied drama, and I forgot my other major altogether, just because I felt like I thought it was important to put that side of me out there, because to hide that part of me is really to hide myself integrally. So I stopped doing that.
When I get together with, say, my cohort of North American Rhodes Scholars, what always strikes me is how undervalued the arts are as a source of cultural change. And I think it's so short-sighted. I think that populations are extremely influenced by what they see on television, what they hear as jingles, what just happened on TikTok. I mean, that didn't exist. But I think that popular culture, which is kind of one of the children of the arts, right? Without us, we don't teach it, but like I'll say to my Rhodes Scholar buddies, any ad you see, any TV show you see, those people that are making it went to theater school at some point. They went to art school, or they thought about music in a very serious way. This didn't happen just by magic.
I don't know if I've shared this with you yet, but in my interview, they asked me to do a monologue.
No.
Isn't that fun?
That's crazy.
Yeah, so,
and what did you do?
I did Murder on the Orient Express. And it was very lucky because I had just come from rehearsal that day, so it was fresh in my mind. But yeah, it was awesome.
Okay, I'll match that with this story. My background is Latvian, right? So it's a small refugee community in Toronto, and the committee head happened to have a secretary who was Latvian, and he thought he would shock me by speaking in Latvian to me and asking me a question in Latvian. However, the problem is he had to ask his secretary to teach him this sentence. Right. And the community is so small that the secretary told someone, oh, you know, the Rubess girl, she's going to get interviewed. And then somebody told someone, and then one of my friends told me I was going to be interviewed for the Rhodes way before I got the letter, and that this guy was preparing to freak me out.
Wow.
So I was like very ready for my monologue because he didn't realize that it was a very kind of little mafia.
Oh, that's amazing. I tell my professors to give Noah Rudder good marks. No, I'm just joking.
You don't need them anymore.
Yeah, saying that, but I'm still me. I'm still motivated. I think I would probably just send an email to myself, to Noah, and try to impart as much wisdom that I've learned from my career as you. That's what I would do. Yeah, because a lifetime of being a dramatist, being a director, a playwright, an actor, I'm at the very beginning stages. I'm a baby, and I don't know anything, and I want to learn, and I want to be able to learn from people who have been doing it for years, especially someone who I share so many likenesses with at this point as an academic, and also as a person who's passionate about the arts, and I just want to learn because I don't know what my future will hold, and a lot of those things remain unanswered. Yeah. And I have no idea what will become of me in 10 years' time. I'm not saying that I want to learn that from you, but I more so just want to gain inspiration and see how you were thinking about things at this point when you were my age. So yeah, that's what I would do.
I just think it would be amazing if I could be a young black male artist. I just think that would be an amazing thing to be. And I can't. And I have the same feeling of like, wow, what would I see? What would I learn? What would I experience? Right. Oh my God. So sadly we can't do that.
I think that as a Rhodes Scholar, I definitely feel a sort of sense of responsibility to live up to the award, to portray the values of the award, as in just being someone who is focused on helping people, and that is something that is deeply intrinsic to me, so I don't really foresee that being an issue. My other degree is Peace, Conflict, and Justice. It's in the Monk School for Global Affairs and Public Policy. That's sort of more, I can foresee myself having more tangible impact in that field in regards to, I'm really, really concerned about issues such as homelessness, anti-Black racism, and also advocacy for sex workers. Those are the topics that I'm really interested in, and those are the populations that I want to help as much as possible. Basically helping groups that don't have the autonomy to lift themselves out of the dire situations that they're already in, and from a place of privilege, being able to extend that hand.
So the motto is something like fighting the world's fight. The Rhodes Scholar is kind of committed to whatever that is, whatever that means, fighting the world's fight. That's what we want to do. And what I know as an old Rhodes Scholar is that mantle doesn't rest lightly on your shoulders. That over your life you're thinking, did I do enough? Did I achieve enough? Oops, I'm not Prime Minister. Like, oops, I'm a Rhodes Scholar. I'm supposed to have done something extraordinary, and most of us don't. We do something in our fields, but we're not. There's only very few people who can become Prime Minister or President, and you have I doubt that either of us even would want to. Well, maybe you're.
Well, I push back on that a little bit. I think becoming a president or Prime Minister is extraordinary, certainly, yes. But is that really fighting the world's fight? I think you are an educator. You imbue young artists with the ability to pursue what they want to pursue. I think that's pretty admirable.
Yes. It's a long time since I was there, so many things may have changed.
Right.
But the main thing that was different, the main thing was that it seemed quite common for people to do a lot of extracurricular theater and then go into the business.
Right.
Like I remember hearing, there's this woman, really good actress. One would hear about Cambridge too, Cambridge Footlights, who you would hear about interesting people in theater, extracurricular theater, from one illustrious university to the other.
Right.
And I remember Emma Thompson's name showing up, and I know Simon McBurney was doing his English lit Théâtre de Complicité. If you're not sure who Simon is, so. It seemed very, and my friend Neil was doing his undergraduate degree in English, and then went on to do a internship at Bristol Old Vic, and recently had a show in the West End. Like, it seemed a very natural kind of. No one seemed to think that was weird.
Right.
Okay. Nobody seemed to think you must go to RADA. You must do you must do a graduate degree. Like you don't. Like you. It's the doing of it.
Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah.
So in terms of theater in Oxford, I just think same thing that you would do here at U of T. Just find your way into the extracurricular world.
Yeah.
And if you can do something that gets you to the fringe in Edinburgh, I think that's a really good idea too, because you'll just meet a lot of people. And the thing that any young artist, especially actor, needs is for people to see them.
The tangent that I just went on about art as a practice is really important for young actors to hear, just to kind of take the pressure off themselves and to allow themselves to grow and develop and not be judgmental. I'll share a bit of wisdom that I've learned this year from both my 403 class but also my 400 class. Privilege wonder over judgment, and that is in regards to yourself and to others as well. To lift yourself up and lift each other up as well. Make sure that you're giving your fellow actors enough room to do their thing, and your job should be primarily to try and make them look good. And if you do that, then you're doing a good job yourself. I think as a scholar, I'm trying to think about my journey. I think I was able to find success by motivating myself with real goals, and I knew that I wanted to study peace, conflict, and justice to help people eventually. So everything had a goal in mind. I'm going to the library right now to put in this crazy shift so I can get into this program. I'm going to study in this program so I can hopefully graduate and get a job where I'm helping people. And kind of having these long-term goals, I think will help you with the short term and help you motivate yourself. But do things that excite you.
Hey, I'll see you in January.
Yeah,
Have a great time with Bob's your uncle.
Yes, that's very fun. Thank you.